Not too fancy, we don't get too fancy around here. Hey fiddlers, welcome to today's fiddle video. Today we are going to be getting into Irish polkas. It's polka time, everyone. It's always polka time somewhere in the world. I'm a huge fan of the Irish polka, and today we are going to be delving into slurring patterns that will make your polkas sound awesome, I hope. The tune I'm going to be using to demonstrate these ideas is called The Breeches Full of Stitches, and if you'd like to learn that tune, I did a tutorial on that, and you'll find a link for it in the description. I also taught a little variation on the tune. You'll also find a link for sheet music for the tune with various bowing patterns that we're going to be covering today. All right. It's polka time. First of all, what's a polka? Very good question. A polka is first and foremost a kind of dance. When we play polkas, we're thinking in 2/4 time. So that means 2 quarter notes per measure, or the equivalent. So often it'll be 4/8 notes per measure. So the general feel for a polka is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, oops. Wow. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. They often go at a pretty quick clip, so hold on to your horses. You'll also often hear a little bit of an offbeat accent in polkas, or maybe a lot of one. So rather than 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, with the emphasis on the beat, you might hear something more like this. 1, 2, and 1 and 2 and. Okay, so that's our time signature and just the general feel of a polka. So what are we to do with our bows? Slurring pattern number 1 that you can use for your polkas is the simplest, and it is just separate bows. And that is a perfectly respectable way to play a polka. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Here's what that would sound like. So that's simple enough. It has this nice choppy sort of jaunty feel to it. Generally with separate bows, you're going to be going for a down bow on the first 8th note and an up bow on the second 8th note in a set of 2 8th notes. And so what you might want to do is actually give that up bow a smidgen of an accent. So something like this. That way you get that nice off the beat polka-ish sound. You could also accent the downbeat note, that's fine too. Just maybe not for the entire tune because it might get a little tiresome. Bowing pattern number 2 is also pretty simple. It is just gonna be 1 bow per beat. Here's what that might sound like. Again, nice and simple. This one has a smoother sound, and if you want that offbeat accent, your bow is gonna do something a little fancy. Not too fancy, we don't get too fancy around here. What you're gonna do with each beat is the first half of the beat, so maybe the first 8th note, but maybe the first half of a quarter note, is gonna be with a bit of a slower bow. Then the second 8th note, or second half of the quarter note, will be a little faster. So like this. You might also kind of lean into the bow on that second half of the beat just to give it a little extra oomph. That gives you that off the beat accent that we like to hear in polkas. Moving on to bowing pattern number 3. This is where things start to get rather interesting. This bowing pattern is a cross the beat slur, and this is what it will sound like. Alright, what's a cross the beat slur? You guys have some very good questions. What we're doing with a cross the beat slur is we're slurring from the note before a downbeat into a downbeat. In principle, in a polka, that will very often mean that if you have a pair of 8th notes and then you have another pair of 8th notes, you slur from the second 8th note of one pair into the first 8th note of the next. So in our first phrase, we have this. So there we have 4 pairs of 2 notes. Most of them are pairs of 8th notes. The first one is actually a dotted 8th and a 16th. If we want to do a cross the beat slur, what we're going to do is we'll play that first note separately, but from there on we're slurring sets of 2 because those sets of 2 will be a little pickup note and then it'll be the downbeat. So it'll be like this. Slur 2, that's into the downbeat, and then again slur 2, into the downbeat, and slur 2. each time we have a 2-note slur, it's from the note before the downbeat into the downbeat. So again, you might start that pattern by playing a separate bow on that first note so that then you can slur the pickup into the next downbeat. Again, with this cross the beat slurring pattern, you could emphasize the downbeat or you could emphasize the offbeat. With cross the beat slurs, if you want that accent on the offbeat, often the note that the cross the beat slur starts on is on the offbeat. And so you're gonna start it with an accent. Bowing pattern number 4. You might call this pattern a 3-3-2 bowing pattern, and this is how it will go. In a 3-3-2 bowing pattern, if you have 8 eighth notes, you can take those first 3 and play them separately, play the next 3 slurred, and the next 2 separately. In the first phrase of Breeches Full of Stitches, we kind of have 8 eighth notes. The first 2 are actually dotted quarter and a 16th, but we're not gonna worry about that. So we're gonna play those first 3 separately, then we're gonna slur these next 3 on our up bow, and then do 2 separate. So we've got this. Cool. And you can do whatever you'd like with the accenting for that. This pattern creates kind of a fun texture of a little bit of choppiness and then some smoothness and then choppiness again. However, you can also do a 3-3-2 pattern that's a little smoother, and this is what that would sound like. We're still thinking in those 3-3-2 groupings, but what we're doing there is we're slurring the first 3 and then also slurring the next 3 and doing the last 2 separate. So it would work out like this. Slur the first 3 on a down bow, slur the next 3 on an up bow, and do the last 2 separate. Alright, so those are a few different slurring pattern options. I'm going to play through the A part of the tune a couple times using a mix of those. And generally, we really do want to mix up the bowing, so we don't want to get too patterny about it because people are going to get kind of bored. Alright fiddlers, that wraps up today's fiddle video. I hope you liked it. Again, if you would like to learn the tune that I used to demonstrate these ideas, it's called The Breeches Full of Stitches. You'll find a link for my video tutorial on that tune in the description. You'll also find a link there for sheet music for The Breeches Full of Stitches with various bowing patterns that we covered today. Have a wonderful day, happy fiddling, and I'll see you soon.